In this video I'm going to use copper-clad sleepers and track screws to secure the rails on my tracks where they pass from one board to another on my model railway. In N gauge, how hard can that be? So on my layout I have got 8 places where the track will move from one board to the other. So I need to find a sensible way of joining them together, which I do using alignment dowels that go into these holes here. And then I've got a hole there, and there's another one under here for bolts to bolt it together, so that should keep the baseboards aligned. Having done that, I then need to find a way of attaching the track, more particularly the actual rails, to the board in a way that they can't move, so that when I put the boards together and I'm certain the boards are aligned, I can be confident that the rails are also aligned too. The way I'm going to do this is using a piece of oak and some copper-clad. So the plan is to attach this piece of oak here underneath this track, and the reason we're doing that is to ensure there's a nice solid piece of hardwood directly under the end of the track, and that means that I can then put a screw down through the track bed into that piece of oak, more than one screw even, and know that that screw is not going to wobble around. It's not, over time it's not going to get loose because it's going into a piece of hardwood. Having got that there, I can then take a piece of copper-clad and somehow, it'll obviously be smaller, somehow attach that to the track bed. It goes underneath the rail. There we go. It goes underneath the actual rails, right up to the end of the board. I can then solder each rail directly to the copper-clad. And if I put a screw through the copper-clad into the oak, I know the copper-clad's not going to move anywhere because it's screwed to the oak, and the rail's not going to move anywhere because it's soldered to the copper-clad. So that's the theory. Can't possibly be that hard, so I will give it a go. So here's my piece of oak, and you'll see that has been glued and clamped. I think it's quite tightly in the right place. Anyway, I'll let the glue set up a bit, and then I'll put a couple of screws in on this end as well. I've got the 2% incline on the piece of oak. I think that's worked quite nicely. It's made me realise actually perhaps I probably should have put a 2% incline on these risers as well. You see, I've tried to do it by slightly offsetting them and made a bit of a mess of it. There we go. I'm learning as I go. As I say, how hard can it be? And it ends up being a lot harder than you imagine. Okay, so it's exciting. The postman's been. Let's see what he's brought for me today. Here I've got some CNCed copper-clad sleepers. Now these were made for me by Trish from the Double O'Neill channel, and I am going to use these to join the tracks across my boards. So you can see here I've put the two parts of the layout back together. Now I need to sort out the joins where the tracks pass over. So this track runs down here towards the staging yard, and it passes over this joint just here where the two boards join. And I need to have a way of joining the tracks together. The first thing is to get the sub-row beds installed, and you can see I've managed to get these two almost exactly level. There's a piece of oak just here, there's another one just here, so I've got something solid to attach to, but I did need to slightly adjust the thickness here to get these two level. So the next problem I've got is to take into account the depth, the thickness of the cork. Now I don't want to have cork going all the way to the edge because cork's quite compressible, and so I can't be sure of the height. But this piece of PC board is in fact just the right thickness. I could probably use something else that's a bit cheaper, but never mind. That's just the right thickness to go across the joint. So I'm going to use a single sheet of PC board just to get the height correct. The next thing I'm going to do is use these CNCed copper sleepers, and I will put one just on this side of the join and another one just on the other side of the join. See if we can see that. They've got holes in, so I can screw them down into the piece of oak that's underneath them, and then I can lay track across them and solder the rails to those, and that should hold the rails securely in place. So, time to get to work. You?
Where are you?
I'm filming.
Shit.
I can't put shit on YouTube, can I?
You already are, mate.
Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. So let's have a closer look at this join. You'll see this section of track. I've joined it on this end, that's nice and tight, and I've taken some sleepers out in the middle and they lay across the copper-clad sleepers. That fits nicely, I think. I'm pretty pleased with that. And then on the other side, we're ready for the next piece of track, which is going to be this re-railer. Now before I solder it down, I need to think how I'm going to cut it. Because this piece is in this arch, the only way I can do it is to put the rail nippers in and cut, and that's going to leave a damaged edge on one side. It'll need cleaning up. So what I'm going to do is undo these bolts, separate the join just a little bit, put something a fixed width in between and tighten it up. And that way when I do the cut, I can then take the two bits apart and I've got a little bit of spare just to tidy up the end of each rail to make sure it's nice and neat. And when I put it back together without the spacer, the rails should join together perfectly. So in the end it worked out really well. The stock travels really smoothly across the join, and I found it pretty easy to do in the end too. I think I might get myself a Dremel or a saw to cut the rails on the other connections, but I don't think I'm going to have any problems doing it. I'm also really grateful to Tris from the Double O'Neill channel, who produced those CNCed copper-clad sleepers for me. He did them as a special order for me because I wanted to have 5 sleepers in order to enable me to space the screws out a bit further and make it more stable. I'll put a link to his channel in the description in case you want to get in touch and ask him to produce some for you as well. I know there's lots of different ways in which people secure the rails across board joints. Why don't you comment in the descriptions and tell me how you do it on your layout?